What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. So yesterday I did a video taking a look at the new gameplay trailer that came out. There was a live game of Rugby 22. Basically we went through and just watched through it, saw our first impressions, and then basically did a little bit of a breakdown afterwards. So if you want to go back and check out that, you can actually watch the full footage and get my original thoughts on that. One thing that I did think would be fun to do today is because a lot of people were talking about the visual look of the game, and there wasn't that much of an enhancement from Rugby 20. What I thought would be a fun idea is to basically chuck the games on side by side for you guys, and that way you can actually see. So I've gone away in my own time, I've played basically the same game we saw in that trailer of France versus New Zealand, and what we'll do is I'll chuck them side by side on screen for you guys now. So as you can see, we've got Rugby 20 on the left hand side and Rugby 22 on the right hand side, and I've done my best to sort of go through and match up the shots. So I thought we'd just go through, we'll play what's going on, and I can point out some of the differences that we see in the two games. So starting off here, as you can see, we've got the lineups. Rugby 22 to me looks way better in terms of the visual look of the actual characters. The facial expressions and stuff look way better in Rugby 22. Now Rugby 20 did have a bit of a more interesting setup, I think, in the opening start here, getting to look at the referee. You don't get to see the referee in Rugby 22, so we're not really sure of who's been rostered in terms of refereeing circles. As you can see, the difference in the pitch colours is very different. Rugby 22 makes it look a little bit more realistic. There's actual grass rather than this vibrant sort of yellowy colour. We move on to a bit of just sort of running play. You can check out some of the rucking systems that look pretty similar. It doesn't look like they've done a great deal with the rucking system between the two games. It looks pretty identical. Now, I'm not used to playing sort of lengthways. I normally play horizontally like you see in a real game of rugby, so I had to get a little bit more used to playing like this just for this video. Moving on to the scrums. The animations for the scrums are actually like identical, even like the camera work of the referee. However, the player models you can actually see are totally different. Rugby 22 looking much better. The scrum camera angle from the top, much more bird's eye view rather than slightly angled, as we can see in Rugby 20. And the scrum, bizarrely, was actually a little bit faster in Rugby 20, and I think that's one of the things they've done a lot in Rugby 22. Whether it's just the sort of gameplay they're showing us, they've maybe purposefully slowed it down a bit, but it definitely looks like the gameplay is a little bit slower, which makes it feel a little bit more realistic. Rugby 20 was a little bit hectic. As we look here, we'll move on to a little bit more of the running play here in Rugby 22. You can see as they kick out the ball in this weird kick, just basically to align themselves for a line-out. We can check out the difference in line-outs. Now, the new system, as we sort of went over in the last video, that sort of circle thing, we're going to have to get into a bit more when we actually play the game. The mauling system changed quite a lot here. This new bar running around rather than just sort of adding one player after another. It looks to be much better, to be honest, than Rugby 20, which just sort of, I didn't really know how to gauge what was happening with the maul. Just sometimes your players weren't able to defend it, and it even looks like you can go backwards in Rugby 22 if you're losing too much of the maul, which I quite like the look of. We'll have another look here at some of the line-out systems. As you can see, Rugby 20 actually had dummy jumpers, which you don't get to see any gameplay of in Rugby 22, so going to be interesting to see if they've kept in the dummy feature. I really quite liked it, and I actually fell for a couple of dummies the other day when I filmed this. The actual set plays themselves, of course, we'll set up a couple of set plays here just so you guys can see. Now, of course, you don't know the difficulty this was played on in Rugby 22, but as you can see here, I lost a good like 15 yards in Rugby 20 just from trying to perform that set play because the players are so deep and the defence comes at you so quickly. So it'll be interesting to check out in Rugby 22 how that performs. The visual look of this conversion is so much different. Both of these players are Entomac taking this kick now. The character model looks so much better, even if I think the stadium actually might look slightly better in Rugby 20, and the kicking animation and the actual sort of setup is pretty similar in terms of how the actual conversion goes over. I thought we'd just chuck on a bit more just general running play. You can see here in Rugby 22 they're using a bit more of the sort of the set plays, whereas this was just sort of a bit of running try, managing to do a bit of sidestep, get round some of the players and go over just to see some of the try animations. Now in the actual trailer we did see a lot of the same animations for the try, but the celebrations afterwards, it's a little bit more basic in Rugby 22. It's just a little high fives and stuff, whereas in Rugby 20 they like proper celebrate. There's hugs and everything going on, and I thought people might just want to see the sort of replay cameras here. As you see a couple of players going over there for the touches. Looks like they've kept pretty much the same sort of camera angles for the tries and whatnot. We've got a bit of running in play here as Jalibert runs in the number 11 shirt, as someone did point out in a comment saying one of the other video why he was playing on the wing. No one knows, but just general running feel. The character models definitely seem to run a little bit different, but the tackling in Rugby 20 seemed to be a little bit more harsh. Looks like not a lot of tackles were going through in Rugby 22, and of course I wanted to just sort of show off that you could actually do a bit of the player changing in sort of distance from each other in Rugby 20, whereas we didn't get to see any of that gameplay in Rugby 22. Over goes Entomac for another conversion, Rugby 22, as I struggle like anything to get over. And then the final thing to look at is just the ending scene here. So, I mean, this looks to be pretty identical, to be honest. A lot of the players do stuff, but it does show off just how better the character models look in this game, especially now with some of the New Zealand players in there as well. And there we have it, Rugby 22 coming out on the 27th of January. That'll be this Thursday. So there we have it, guys. That was just a bit of a side-by-side for you guys, because I'm sure there's plenty of people that won't have played Rugby 20, probably since its release, or maybe a couple of months afterwards, maybe forgot what that game actually looked like, just so you can see the comparison in how enhanced this game is actually looking visually. Of course, there's a couple of mechanics we're going to want to look at when the game's fully released. We will be doing the stream on Thursday, and doing loads of videos around this game, doing different gameplay, checking out some of the solo stuff, checking out some of the career stuff. So if you want to keep up to date with all the latest videos to do with Rugby 22, make sure you subscribe to the channel, just to keep up to date with when they are released. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop it a like, because it does really help the channel out, and people seem to be really enjoying a lot of the Rugby 22 content. I hope you all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time, hopefully for the chance to actually be playing some Rugby 22. Super excited. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye bye.